you know how this organization looked at this time last year, right? Better than anyone. Kind of in your own words, describe the differences in the organization at this time last year and now.
I mean, 1 year on, obviously we're still in the midst of COVID, but 1 year on, we're a very different club. We're more settled. We feel like the energy is equally as positive as it was going into the year last year, but we learned so much in 2021. In 2022, I think we're primed for a great sophomore season.
Looking back at the last few months, what's been, and this is again like in the kind of new role for you, stepping down from coaching. What's been some of the challenges that have been the things you've been focusing on? Talk us through.
Well, the first thing was finding a head coach that gave us a big project through the season last year. I was pretty clear with everybody that I was only ever going to be an interim basis. And my role as technical director is overseeing the technical department. So, stepping down from the head coach, returning to my role, however everybody wants to call it, I knew that it was really important that we had a really good head coach for us. And I think Juan has been, the process to get him here was a ton of fun, getting to know him, his ideas. Obviously, we did battle last year a little bit, so you have some sort of familiarity with that, but you get to understand how somebody sees the game, and more than that, there's a broader football process with local players as a priority for us, or the core that we had, and going through that and reshaping the roster now to support him and his vision and the way that he wants to do things, and how that all aligns with who we are as a club and what we want to build. That process was really fun. Took a little bit after the end of the season. Obviously, we were grateful to be playing for a little bit longer. And then, around him is not just him as a head coach, but it's assistant coaches and athletic trainer and strength and conditioning coach and other processes, the training facility, all of that we needed to get from where we were at the end of the season to where we wanted to be to start the season. And there's still some things that are in process. The last bit of branding, but I feel like that's the same with the team. There's still a couple more signings and additions that we need to make to round ourselves out for 2022. And then, really trying to hit the ground running with good first week of preseason and continuing on as everything rolls into the season.
A lot of value retained, especially on defense. Talk about some of the philosophy and things you kept in mind when building the roster this offseason.
Well, I mean, we finished, those last three games with, besides conceding 3 at San Diego, really the last few games of the season, we were very good in defense. And so I don't think that was something that we really needed to revolutionize. But there was a couple things about the way that we wanted to come out from the back of the ball, or certain things that fit maybe a little bit more what Juan wanted. And so, we obviously were strong in defense. That's what got us to where we wanted to be last year. It's something that we want to build the club on, but we also want to be able to create more chances, and some of that starts from the back with the way that we come out and leave the first line together or separate, or can't leave really together. So I think there's a couple additions there. You saw Flynn Mayor, you see Danny Barbier, and also trying to give us some balance in that center back position, because we didn't want all kind of post-peak 29 plus year olds. We wanted some younger guys, and so the addition of Flynn Mayor and Barbier in there is to kind of give us a sense in there. Obviously, at the base of midfield, we felt very strongly about how we finished, and we bringing back JoJo and Mati was a real high priority for us. And then at outside back, we've made the addition of Edgardo Rito. He fits very similarly to Memo, and that he wants to get forward. He's a very good 1v1 defender as well. And then, at left back, we're still, we feel like we have a good starter there in Akeem, and he'll be able to fight for that spot. But we want to create some competition there as well.
You've seen with in terms of recruitment, obviously once has an influence in some of the players that we've recruited, but there's perhaps other avenues that other members of the organisation have been able to tap. You mentioned local players as well, but a lot of these players seem to have points to prove, perhaps things that they want to achieve. How important is that to bring in hungry players?
It's very, very important, and it's irrespective of age. So, we have the veterans of the roster, the captains this year, are all three guys who have had long careers and have also been a part of teams that have outperformed. Not necessarily won every single championship that was there to play for. But Mati's experience in the first division in Argentina, Emra having won the USL Championship and his experience with clubs around, and then Jojo's experience with MLS and ASL abroad as well. So those three, I think, give us a veteran group that is very ambitious, and you add to that, and I've always said that ambition is a key character trait. We can stoke that flame, but we can't ignite that flame. And so as we've gone into the market and looked to add also the players that we look to retain, that type of ambition, the desire to do a little bit of extra or maintain themselves as professionals in a certain way, and what they bring to the table has been a really important part of how we've done our homework on players.
You mentioned working with Juan to try and build his vision. Talk about the collaboration between you two this offseason, and what can we expect from a Guerra team?
Yeah, the number one thing that stood out to me was when he and I talked was his passion for the game and for players and for winning and all of that. I think is something that I'm very aligned with. Nana's moved from a dual role of second assistant and director of player personnel into full-time director of player personnel. So he's also had an influence on some of the signings and things like that in terms of just how we work together as a staff. And all of us are well aware, Juan's job is to win games on the weekend. And also in that, he's there to develop a first team that gives the light of the top of the pyramid in our club on the men's side. So he and I have got to be on the same page, and it's been incredible, the different conversations and dialogues around players, around methodology, around staff, and how all the puzzle pieces work together, because we want to support him and we want him to be able to feel like he's able to have the tools, both players, staff, and otherwise, to really win games and fight for a championship. I think that's super crucial for us. But along with that, his football, you'll see a very similar passing. You'll see a very similar intensity. I hope that now we have a few more players and a little bit further developed as the team, where we can have more possession. It's something that possession, not for possession's sake, but dominating the ball to be able to dominate certain spaces and really control the game in that way is something that he believes in. I certainly believe in, and I think that we'll continue to see the growth of the Roots first team. And along the same, I don't think it'll change too much. I think it'll be along the same lines. And obviously, we've added some talent, but we've also added what we feel like is a really strong head coach and staff to be able to bring out the vision of the club on the field.
You mentioned a couple of times last season the importance of, the difficulty of, for obvious reasons, getting enough players on the pitch and that kind of thing. Some of the players that have come in, there's good versatility in this squad. I think we saw it last year, but how important at this moment is having a squad that can step in for gaps and for goals?
I honestly think there's maybe 3-4 players in the squad they play a position. Otherwise, there's versatility there. All of our outside backs can play another position, whether it's wing back, winger, center back inside, whatever that is. All of our center backs are versatile in that they can play left or right, and Barbiers, he can play on left center back in a 4 or left as a 3. Versatility is really key to ensuring that you can actually just adapt to the circumstances that a game's going to bring you, or that an injury then brings you, or whatever the case may be, without having to revolutionize the squad or be too rigid with the squad. So I think that it's super crucial. It's always been crucial in our recruitment, but as we brought him on, we saw the same thing. And he was talking about players who can play inside or out, talking about players who can play the 8 or the 10, and so I think that versatility for us is always going to be a hallmark of Oakland and the ethos around here, but I think it's also going to be a big part of the type of players that we look for.
And you mentioned still some spots left. I think 6 spots left. What are some places you're looking to address?
It's interesting wherever you got your numbers on 6. I certainly think we're not done in the forward. That's something that we feel like we have a lot of good talent signed, a lot of good talent in place. But I think there needs to be another addition in there or 2. We feel like we've got a strong midfield, but there's opportunity there for us to reinforce. And I think outside back is something that we feel like we have 3 very good guys there, but we want to make sure that we have good depth as well and challenge for that position as well. So some good opportunities, and we're not signing any more center backs.